and there we discuss about how you can write asynchronous functions with the help of AJAX. Also, we discuss AJAX calls also, and then we discuss about callback hell, which can be solved using promises. So that is what we started with, and today we'll complete that part. So let me share my screen and let's go to that. Fine. So is my screen visible to everyone? Okay, so we discussed this promises, and what is promise? So promise is nothing but a JavaScript object which contains both the producing code and calls to the consuming code. And we discuss what is this producing code. Basically, it is an executor function that you pass to this promise constructor, and this executor function will do something. And then on successful completion of that job, you can call result, that is this callback. On unsuccessful completion, you can call this callback. Okay, and when you call my result or my reject, how you can consume that whether it is if it is successful and you call this callback my result, how you can consume that. So for that, we have one of the methods is then. To consume promises, we have one method called then. So that is where we stop. Okay. Kaushal is asking some question. What is difference between promise? Sorry, Kaushal, I am not aware of this Axios. What you are talking about, I have to see that. Okay. So I'll refer to that and then I'll come back to you. So consumers, now how you can consume this promises, this promise object. So a promise object serves as a link between the executor, that is a producing code, where you write something and you finalize whether it is successful or not, and based on that you call that callback, and the consuming functions which will receive the result or error. Okay, so consuming functions can be registered using these three methods, either then, catch, or finally, or you can use all of them. Now the syntax of this then is very simple. The promise object that you have, you call then method on that, and it takes two arguments. The first one is a function which is going to handle the successful result. That means when you call resolve callback, and whatever result you pass there, that you can handle here. So the first function, it is going to handle the successful result of the promise, and the second function argument that you are passing, it will handle the rejection of the promise. Okay, so let us see example. Just a minute. There. So we discussed this example also, and here this is how you do it. So then method, the first argument, it is going to handle, this function is going to handle the successful result. So if you call resolve, then this will be executed, and if you have called reject, then this will be executed. And in the current case, we have called reject, that is the second callback. See, this name can be anything. It is not necessary that it must be resolve or reject. It can be A or B also, doesn't matter. It is just the callback. But when you call this second argument callback, then it will handle through this function, the second argument of then method. Okay, so I assume that you are getting this. Now there is another one, catch. So catch and finally, these are the two other consumers. And if you are aware of this Java, there we have used these two terms, catch and finally. Catch is basically there to handle any error. Okay, so if we are interested only in errors, then we can use null as the first argument of then method. So in case if you are only interested in handling the errors or rejection of the promise, you can call promise.then and pass the first argument, which is null. So you are not interested in case of successful promise, right? You are interested only if there is some rejection, then only you want to handle. So you just pass second argument, and first argument you can pass null. So that is one way. But the better way than this is directly calling catch. So you can say promise.catch, and only argument, that is the function which will be executed when there is some rejection of the promise. So the call .catchf is a complete analog of this. Okay, so let us see that we can handle this using this method, right? So currently I'm not putting any then, but I'm only putting catch. So if there is any rejection that I want to handle in this error, okay, so this error I am passing as the argument to this function, and that I am using to set that message to text content of the paragraph. So basically answer will be same, I mean the output will be same. There won't be any difference. Okay, if you just want to check, I can change this. Okay, and you can see it is handled. So this is nothing but you are just interested in rejection of the promise and you want to handle it. So this is there. Another thing that we have is finally. Okay, now the finally, it is again very similar to that finally block that we have in Java. In any case, that will be executed, whether it is successful promise or rejected promise, that will be executed. So the call finally f is similar to then ff. Basically it is similar to that, and in the sense that f always runs when the promise is settled. F is a function that you are passing as an argument to finally block or then block. I mean, sorry, finally method or then method. So, and settle. Now this is interesting stage. I hope you remember that promise object can be in any of the three states. What are those three states? Yeah. Can anyone tell me what are those three states? Which are the three states of promise object that we discuss? When you create promise, it is in pending state. When it is successful, yes, it is fulfilled. And when it is unsuccessful, it is in rejected state. And finally, once promise is either fulfilled or rejected, any of these two, it is called settle. It means it is processed. That point is processed. So it is called settle mode. So this f always runs. This f function that you pass to finally, it always runs when the promise is settled. Either it is fulfilled or rejected, does not matter. Okay. So finally, so you can say settle is another state of the promise object, and that is nothing but either it can be fulfilled or rejected. So finally is a good handler for performing cleanup. And again, if you remember what we were doing in Java in the finally block, if you remember the answer here, what kind of jobs we were doing in finally block? Closing connection, closing all the file descriptors and all those stuff, right? Which is common and which is required. Yes, so that is what we were doing there, right? So similarly here, you can use this finally as a good handler for performing cleanup, like stopping our loading indicators, like when sometimes job, when user is trying to access some website, and if connection is slow, sometimes it takes time. So in that case, you are normally showing that spinner, right? Loading sign. But once everything is loaded, your promise is over, and if you want to disappear that sign, you can use this finally for that. So as they are not needed anymore, no matter. Okay, so that is one example, one use case where you can use finally. And a finally handler has no arguments. In finally, we don't know whether the promise is successful or not. That is the point. Okay. In finally, we don't know whether the promise is successful or not. That's all right, as our task is usually to perform general finalizing procedures, because normally in finally, we don't put any job which is either dependent on whether promise is fulfilled or rejected. There we put something which is generalized. A finally handler passes through results and errors to the next handler. So let us take example again. So if you just want to display some message or something like that, I can do like this. Put it here. Now see, what I am going to do is, I am using all these three. Okay, but rather than this catch, if I want, I can, of course, if you want, you can use all these three. But let us first only use this finally, or and then and finally. Let us use then and finally. So we are handling the result, whether it is successful or rejected. That we handle here in then, and then we will be doing it on finally. Okay, let me just hide this first. Let us take only finally. So let us do this and let's see what is the result. And the result is on console. There is some problem. Oh, because we are not handling this error. So let's use this. Let's keep this. Still there is error. It is coming from somewhere else. $327. In this script?
Yes.
Line number 3. There is a timeout. And then after that timeout, it throws some exception. Promise is settled, that is displayed. Why it is showing uncaught? Okay, Kevin is suggesting something, clear resources. Await, we will see. That is a different way to do the same thing actually, Kevin. Kevin, do you have anything to suggest here? Okay, let me check again where we are. Why we are getting this exception uncaught? Because we are handling it, isn't it? Why it is showing uncaught?
Like Promise is also getting it, and we have also used catch method.
Anyway, result we are getting, that promise is settled is there. So finally gets executed in any case, whether it is throwing error or not. Okay, let me just hide this for a while. Let me use this one. This is coming from somewhere else. There is some other error. In fact, we are getting our output, but still there is some problem. So what this error is, but this is not from what are the request headers? Okay, it is doing internally something it is doing, right? It is request headers. Okay, something is going wrong here. I'll check what is it. Otherwise, but all this then catch and everything is working fine. There is no problem in that, but there is something fishy here. I am not getting it right now, but I'll identify what the problem is. But the point here is that I wanted to convey regarding this then, catch, and finally, and they are working perfectly fine, whether it is a successful or rejected mode. In any case, it is working. And finally, it is also working in any case, and it is showing this result. Okay, so you can see that finally does not take any finally function that you pass, the function that you pass in finally method, that function does not take any argument. Like in then, whatever function you pass, it takes one argument in the first function, one argument in the another function, right? Even in catch, the function that you pass, that takes one argument, that is error argument, but that is not there in finally. Okay, so this is the syntactical difference. So fine, let's go back to this. So that is 3 consumers, then, catch, and finally. Okay, Kaushal has suggested something, that is chaining. Yes, that is a chain that we can do, correct? We can do that chaining. That is our next topic, in fact. We can do that. Yeah, that is actually, yeah, that is point. That is a good point, in fact. Maybe that is the reason here that we are getting, because we are trying to apply this then, catch, and finally on the same promise again and again. Let us try this actually. Maybe that is the reason. And this is a called chain. Okay, let me try this first. It is still there. So it is not solving that. I think I need to return back. Sorry? Is it so? Let us check. Yes, Janil, are you trying to say anything? Error is object. What are you trying to say? What Kaushal has suggested, that is our next topic. You can have these chains of the promises. That is one thing that we will see. Even I was trying to do so. Janil is saying error is object. Oh, no, that is fine. That is working. Actually, that is working. If you say it is working, there is no problem in it. There is some another error that I am not able to identify right now. Fine, let us not waste time on that. I'll identify that and I'll come back to that. Fine, no problem. So we'll do that next. Even in this also it is showing that error. So there is something wrong, not in this, but something else is wrong. Otherwise everything is working. 405, that's true, but it is trying to find that favicon.ico, that is some icon it is trying to find, but it is not able to get that icon. So maybe it is because of,
Is this page included in our index.html, right?
yes.
So can you just check it out if there is some problem with path or something, the name of the image, if that is an image index.html.
Maybe, but that is not because of our code. That's the point. It is not, this error is not because of this code. It is working completely fine. It is something else. It is trying to find some icon. By default, it is trying to do so. So I will check and I will verify what's the problem. Okay. Let us not waste time on this. Fine. But I'll come to that. So that was consumers, then catch, and finally. And as someone has just suggested, I guess who suggested that? Kaushal has suggested that if you want, you can have such kind of, if you see the checkboxes, everyone, you can see your checkbox. The way he has written, whenever you call then method or catch method or finally, you can do that in a chain mode. Like on a promise object, you can call then, and this then method, when it returns, it itself returns one promise, the same promise. So you can call multiple then on the same promise object. Actually, I had that example here, but I forgot. Let me check whether it is there or not. Do I have it there? Yeah, it is there here. Fine. So let us check this example. So we have this example for chaining. Just see this. This is one example of chaining. What we are doing, we are creating a new promise object. Okay, and what that does, it is again doing the same thing. After 2 seconds, it will call resolve. So basically, it's a successful promise. And then on this promise object, we are calling finally. And there is not, it is not necessary that finally should be called only at the end. You can call it before also. And what this finally does, it simply puts some alert message. And on that, now you can see this. On promise object, I have called finally. This dot is there. So this finally method is called on this promise object that you are creating. And whatever this finally method returns, on that I am calling then method. Okay. And what I do in this then method, again, I am taking that result and showing that in the alert. Simple. Okay. To chain, to call these consumers in a chain. Of course, this is very basic example for showing, talking about chains. There are better examples than this. But as we progress and when we write some codes, I'll show you that better examples. So let us run this. So after 2 seconds, it has shown that promise ready. And then it is showing this. Okay. The result. So this is a chain. Of course, as I just told you that this is not a very good example to discuss about these chains, but I could not find a better example at that moment. So I just use this a small example. But when we write some code, I'll take that example and we'll talk about it. Okay. Yeah, this is another example. Let us see this. There is one more example that I want to discuss. Now, if you remember, we started the discussion of this promise as a result, as a as a solution to the callback hell. I hope you remember that. And in callback hell, we discussed that example where, let me show that example. In fact, so you can, if you remember this example, in one set timeout, after that timeout is over, we display this one, and then we call another set timeout. So within a callback, we are calling, within a function, we are calling that function again and again. Callback functions are there. So this is a nested callbacks, and that is the callback hell that we discussed. Now, can we convert this callback hell in the promise chain? So let us see that. This is the example for that. It is solving the same problem, but now no more callback hell. What I do, I create one promise, okay, and what it does, it simply, after 1 second, it simply resolve it to some message, okay. It passes this message, and if you remember, this is template string, a template literal, and I have this I value initialized with 1. So after 1 second, resolve will pass message that 1 second passed, okay. And as it's a resolve call, if I use then now you can see here in my then method, I have passed only one argument. I have passed only one argument. So it is not necessary that then method you need to pass both the arguments. Even first argument, if you pass, second argument you can ignore. And in the first argument, definitely it is the function for handling the successful promise. So here the value that I have passed, which is this value, it will be taken here, and using that value, you just print it on the console. And then again, I create a new promise. Again, I create a new promise, and that same new promise I am returning. So now this then method will return new promise. And on that new promise, again, I am calling then method. So this is how you can now convert the nested callback hell into the chain of then methods. So this is the solution to that problem. So if I run this, now it is all on console. So you can see that 1 second pass, 2 second pass. Let me put one more. There are three then methods. So then method will return new promise. This then method again returns new promise. So basically this then method, it will be called on this new promise which is written from this function. This then method, it will be called on this new promise, and this then method, it is called on this new promise object that you have created here. So but now your nested callbacks, they are converted in a flat chain, and that is the solution to come out of that. Okay, now let me do this again. So you can see 1 second pass, 2 second pass, 3 second pass. So it is working the same way. Okay. Are you getting this? Okay, fine. So that was promise chain. And another way is async and await functions. Async and await functions. Now what these functions, what this do? Async and await make promises easier to write. In fact, it also makes this promises easier to write. Async makes a function return a promise by default. So whichever function you create as async function, by default, it returns promise object. And await makes a function wait for a promise. So this is one example. This is async function by function, and it's a return hello. It's a simple function which return hello. But as you have prefixed it with async, it is exactly same to this. Actually, it is returning promise.resolve hello. Okay. So basically internally it is calling promise. So it is nothing but it is returning promise, and that is for successful promise. It is calling resolve on that promise. Okay. So that is the meaning of async. So again, let's go to the example. So let us see that example of async await. Okay. And here again, we have this paragraph where we are going to set something. So this is the async. In fact, await I have not put here because we are not using it. But what this does, async, this async function, okay, my display, it is creating one promise object by passing this executor function. And what this executor function does, again, it is just waiting for 3 seconds. and then call this my result. So basically it is resolving it, and finally, yeah, and this one within this async function. This is not a good example, in fact. But okay, let us complete this one. So in this async function, I have this promise, okay, and then you call my resolve on that promise after 3 seconds. And now what you are doing in this function, you are waiting to set this inner HTML, okay, and you are waiting on the promise object. So this is asynchronous code. Why? Because once you set this, okay, once you have set the timer, it is going to this line to be executed. But what this line is doing, it is waiting for this promise to be completed. It is waiting for my promise to be completed. So once this promise will, when this promise will be completed, when this 3 seconds will be over, and it will return this. At that time, this promise will be over, and you can simply wait for that. And once it is over, whatever this promise is returning, that you are setting to this inner HTML. And what it is returning? It is basically returning resolve callback, and resolve callback, when you return, basically it returns that value, and so that value will be set to this inner HTML. So let us go to this and just check this. After 3 seconds, it will show it here, hello world. So this is another way to use promises, and this makes easier. See, again, I mean, for the first time it may look little complicated, but once you get habituated with this syntax, right, you will be comfortable and you will find it easy to create your program. Does this make sense to everyone? Okay. So this is all about asynchronous JavaScript programming, and that is very important because nowadays we have very heavy resources that we may want to load in our website pages. Sometimes we just want to get some data asynchronously. So you can use all this asynchronous syntax for that. As and when it is suitable, you can do that. You can use that. Yeah, someone has unmuted. Is there any question? Is there any question? Okay. So that is await. Fine. Now, with this, we complete the discussion of JavaScript here. So we have discussed a lot of things in JavaScript. Yeah, Priyank, I don't have right now any example of this, but I will prepare one good example, okay, where you can see the use of promise, right? And then there is a fetch API also. So I'll combine that. I have a good example in my mind. I'll prepare that, and I'll discuss that also in the next lecture. Okay, so till now we have discussed JavaScript, lot of things we have discussed in JavaScript, and whatever we have discussed, you can say that is just the 30-40% of the JavaScript. So that big it is, okay? JavaScript is very big, and lot of topics are there, which I cannot cover, in fact, in this lecture, because we have many other things to be discussed. So next thing that I am going to discuss is little bit about JSON. And I am sure you must be knowing about it. It is very simple thing to discuss actually, but still, for sake of completion, I am discussing that. So let us do that for sake of completion. Okay. So JSON is JavaScript Object Notation. That is a full form. JavaScript Object Notation, that is a full form of JSON. JSON stands for this JavaScript Object Notation. It's a lightweight data interchange format. So nowadays, in most of the use cases, whenever you have some data interchange between client server in web applications, it is in form of JSON. But it does not mean that there is no other format in which data can be exchanged. A simple text can be used, XML can be used. Okay, sorry, screen is not visible. I forgot to share it. Fine. So JSON, it stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It's a lightweight data interchange format. Most of the time now people are using JSON as a data interchange format from between client and server. But as I just told you that it is not the only format. Still people are using XML, but JSON is very simple one, and there are a number of libraries to work with it directly. You can parse it very easily. So that is why it is used. It's a plain text written in JavaScript object notation. Basically, JSON is, again, it is nothing but it is using the notation of JavaScript object. And the notation of JavaScript object is nothing but curly braces. And within curly braces, you have name value pairs, right? So that is the notation. It is language independent because it is just a text. So it is language independent. And the JSON format was originally specified by Douglas Crockford. Now syntax, so it is a subset of JavaScript syntax because it is nothing but a JavaScript object basically. So data is in name value pairs like we have in JavaScript objects. Every name value pair is separated by commas. Curly braces holds the objects and square brackets hold the arrays. So basically it is nothing but JavaScript object syntax. So you can see that this is how you can provide name value pair. JSON keys must be string. This is one limitation, or you can say one restriction. JSON keys must be string. This key, they must be strings written with double quotes, and value is also string, right? It can be string or it can be another JSON object. It can be string or it can be another JSON object. In JavaScript, keys can be strings, numbers, or identifiers, anything. So basically how it is different from JavaScript objects. In JavaScript, when you write any object, keys can be not only strings, but it can be numbers or identifier names also. Like this. In JSON, string values must be written with double quotes. That is compulsory. When you write JSON object, string must be represented using double quotes. But in JavaScript, that is not the compulsion. You can represent string using single quote. So these are some differences between JSON object or JSON data and JavaScript object. And what can be the values? Okay, so in JSON, values must be one of the following data types. It can be string, it can be number, it can be object, that is JSON object, an array, a boolean, or null. These are the possible values for any value that you put in JSON object. In JavaScript, values can be all of this above and some more, right? It can be a function, it can be date, it can be undefined value, which is not the case in JSON. JSON can hold any value which belong to any of these possible values, right? Only these types are possible. Now the files, they are having extension .json, and the MIME type is application/JSON. And if we compare it with XML, okay, so for an example, this employee XML, which has 3 employees. So these employees here, you can see that this is JSON format. So this is one JSON object between curly braces. Then there is a name called employees. So this is my key, which has one value, which is nothing but array. It is array. And this array contains again 3 objects, 3 JSON objects. Each JSON object has 2 values, first name and last name. Okay. So this is JSON format for employees to exchange employees information. The same thing if you want to do with the XML, it looks something like this. Okay. So now it is a matter of personal preferences. If you are okay with XML, you can use it. But in industry nowadays, people are more using JSON, and there are a number of libraries through which you can work with this JSON. So exchanging data. When exchanging data between a browser and a server, the data can only be text. JSON is text, and we can convert any JavaScript object into JSON and send JSON to the server. So that is possible. Okay. Whenever you exchange data between client and server, again, JSON is just a plain text. But when you want to convert it into JavaScript object into JSON, you can do that. It is simple. Okay. And vice versa, it is also possible. You can convert JSON object into JavaScript object. You can convert JavaScript object into JSON object. That is also possible. We can also convert any JSON received from the server into JavaScript object. So when you send data, from your JavaScript to the server, normally you have JavaScript object in your code. You just convert it into JSON object and send it as data. And when you receive data from the server, it is in JSON format. And if you want to use it, if you want to process it in your JavaScript, you can convert into JavaScript object. So both way it is possible. So how you can do that? So parse is a method. So a common use of JSON is to extend data to or from a web server. When receiving data from a web server, the data is always a string. It's a JSON object, but it is a string. So parse this data with JSON.parse method, and the data becomes a JavaScript object. Simple. So when you call JSON.parse, it will convert the JSON object into JavaScript object. Okay. So there is an example. Let us go to that example. So you can see that example here. Okay. So here you can see that this is one array and you are parsing this text, this array. Okay. And basically this is JSON array. Just a minute. What is this? Parsing a JSON array. So this is JSON array, you can say, which you are currently, we are not getting any data from the server. We are just putting it statically here, that this is some data. Okay. And I am parsing that data in JSON object. And then I am setting it. Only first element I am setting it. So you can see this is the first element, for. Okay. Now let me do one thing. Normally in Java, this is allowed, right? Oh, sorry, in JavaScript, this is allowed, that you can have single quotes around your string. But in JSON, it is not allowed, right? So this is one example of that. Okay. Then another way, when you have JSON object and you want to convert it, when you have JavaScript object and you want to convert it into JSON format. So basically when you want to send data from client to server side, you have JavaScript object and you want to convert it into JSON, you can use this method called stringify. The name is stringify. So when sending data to web server, the data has to be a string. So that is why we convert it into string format. So convert a JavaScript object into string with JSON.stringify. So this is there. So this is one JavaScript object. Okay. And then I convert it into JSON format, or you can say stringify. So it will become simple string, which you can set here. So this is a simple string. And how you can see that whether it's a string or not? See, this is JavaScript object. That is why this key values can be shown like this. But when you convert it into JSON object, now you can see that it is always in double quotes. Can you realize this difference? So this is JavaScript object, which you stringify using JSON. So it becomes JSON object. And in JSON object, the keys must be string in double quotes, right? So you can see that it is a string. Where it is, here it is, it can be identified also. So that is one difference. That is one difference. Okay. Another example, what is that example? Now this is just an array. You can also stringify this array and you can pass it here. So it is another example, just another example. Okay. Yes. In fact, they are almost same because both are text. At the end, both are text. So you can't say XML, whether XML is fast or JSON is fast. It is all about convenient, how it is convenient for you to use XML or JSON. And nowadays everyone is using JSON. Libraries are there, number of libraries are there to work with it. So that is why people are more inclined towards JSON format. Otherwise, XML is same as JSON. It is as fast as JSON because it is also one text. It is also in text format. Clear? Now, okay, you can also store this data. JSON's data, you can, whatever JSON object you have, you can also store that in your local storage and you can load that back whenever it is required. So this is one thing. This is one object. Let's say this is JSON object. You can see that. And I stringify that. Fine. I consider that this is just object which I stringify, and then I can use this method local storage dot set item, and I give it a name test JSON. I just give some name test JSON, and this JSON object I store. I store this JSON object here, and when I want this JSON object back from my memory, I just call local storage dot get item and provide the name of the JSON object, and you will get it in the JSON object format. If you want to convert into JavaScript object, you can say JSON.parse. Okay, and it will convert that JSON object into JavaScript object, and you can use it like this, like JavaScript object. Okay, so this is the same example, I guess. Yeah, you can see that this is JavaScript object. Okay, because this name, age, they are not string. Fine, you stringify that. So it will convert that JavaScript object into JSON object, and then you save it. You save that, and then you get it back. You convert back into JavaScript object, and you can use it like this, obj.name. Obj.name. So this name you can see here. So these are some information on JSON. Okay. Fine, so we are almost done. In fact, when time is over. So this is about JavaScripts, little bit about JSON we have discussed, and in next lecture we will start discussion of jQuery. Okay, just to give you a brief about that, jQuery is nothing but a library which makes your JavaScript coding easy. That's it. Lot of things that you do in JavaScript, for that you have some functionality directly available in the library called jQuery. So it's just a library of JavaScript, and it makes your job easy to write JavaScript code. That's it. Otherwise it is nothing different. Internally it is again a JavaScript. Okay, so jQuery is a library of JavaScript, and that is what we are going to start discussion on in the next lecture. Okay, so let us end this session.